Hello, welcome to the first class of the great stories of great Zen Masters class. Happy to see all of you here online. Let me start by raising a few questions. These are some of the topics and questions to think about as we go through the first a couple classes. How will this class enhance my daily life? So I want this class to be not just for knowledge or study, but rather it's something that is relevant to our daily life. Yeah. So the Zen practice is relevant for people at all stages of their practice, or if they are just starting the practice. So keep this in mind. How would this class enhance my daily life? And when you have let someone down, how do you deal with it? So the questions here are related to the stories we will tell in the first two classes. When you feel you have let someone down, how do you deal with it? And missed opportunities, how can we become more attuned so that we don't miss certain opportunities? People hearing without listening. Doesn't it happen that we misunderstand each other? Somebody says something, we think we understand them, but it turned out that we didn't, we misunderstood. Yeah, listening is a great art. And often we are not very good at it sometimes. And also people talking without speaking. Do we say things? Do we talk about things without real understanding? What is real understanding? So these are some of the issues we'll be dealing with. Of course, we're not going to have answers or complete answers for all of them, but as the class progresses, as we learn more of the stories, hopefully we'll gain insights into these issues. The role of arrogance in spiritual practice is not an issue. And also, if the truth is everywhere, why do we fail to perceive it? Okay, so these are just some of the things we'll touch upon. Now, let me take a few minutes to talk about how this class is organized. First of all, this class welcomes new and old students. If you have studied Buddhism, practiced meditation for a long time, I hope that this class will still be beneficial. If you have no experience, no prior experience whatsoever with Buddhism or meditation, you are also very welcome. I hope that this class will bring insights to people at different levels of practice. Okay. Also, I designed the class with the ABC principle in mind: acquire, absorb, and cultivate. Acquire, the primary means is the lecture. Every week, for 8 weeks, Shifu will tell stories of Zen Masters. And for now, for this class, for this very first class, they will all be Chinese Zen Masters or Chan Masters. Okay, so through the lecture, And through the reading, we will acquire some knowledge and absorb. This is the part of the class where we hope to absorb the material better, retain it better. And we do that by primarily two ways. One is through the organization of collaborative study groups, okay? And the second is by contemplation questions, okay? So let me talk a little bit about the collaborative study group. I hope, Shifu hope to organize the students in this class into study groups. And the way the groups are divided is that I encourage you to form study groups with your friends. If you have friends that's in the class already, then come together and form a group. If you don't know anybody in the class, then no problem. Shifu will put you in a group. And there will be discussion each time. I will leave about 30 minutes of the class for discussion, for online discussion. So this is the first week. We haven't formed these groups yet, but right now we have 73 people. We actually have more than 100 people sign up, and hopefully more people will come up. So think about people you already know from previous classes, or invite your friends, newcomers, to join the class and form a study group. And each group will need a coordinator, a leader or coordinator. And Shifu and our TAs will correspond with the coordinators, the group coordinators, to get the list of the people in your group. And that's how we will divide the online group within the Zoom meeting. Okay? So we'll start that group division next week. But we hope that within 2-3 days, we will have many coordinators come up and tell us, I'm forming a group with so and so and so in our group. All right, and we'll check our sign-up list and mark off those so we know which groups have formed with which people in there. Now, those of you who have not joined a group, by next week, we will just put you in some group. All right, so there is a class email where you can send in your questions, any question about this group, about this class. The email is zenclass@pdzen.org. Okay, zenclass@pdzen.org. PD is Prajna Dharma. That's our Shifu's organization, pdzen.org. We also have a head TA, Tina Wang, and assistant head TA, Tu. For most of the time, you should send your questions to Zen class email, all right? If you are one of the coordinators, then you would have more chances to deal with, to email the TAs, okay? All right. So the online discussion is one of the way we hope that you will go over the material within yourselves, within the group, and then gain a deeper understanding. And also, Shifu will give contemplation questions for you to think about. And this you do on your own. You can pick any or all of those exercises, these questions, to think on your own, to think about the material. All right? And finally, ABC, the C is cultivate. Cultivate means to put the knowledge into practice. So again, Shifu will suggest simple exercises to practice what we learn in daily life. All right? So then let us look at some of the topics. Shifu have prepared many Zen master stories, and I'm in the process of tagging them, putting them into different categories. So for first two classes, so this week and next week, we'll talk about Zen in daily life, stories related to Zen in daily life, right? And then we'll have two classes on directly pointing to the mind, and that's where the stories or koans, Zen stories or koans, are about the importance of the mind and how we use the mind to awaken ourselves. Okay? And the third topic will be awakening by emptiness. There's quite a different way to achieve enlightenment by the way of understanding emptiness. So we will spend just one class on that. And then straight path, when we do our spiritual practice, when we try to understand ourselves better, understand our true selves, sometimes we can make mistakes, and we'll see examples of this straight path. And we'll have one class on that. And then finally, we'll have two classes on non-answers, which is a dialogue, usually a dialogue. The stories involve two Zen masters or a Zen master and a student, and the dialogue will be kind of nonsensical. Somebody asks a question, the answer seems to be non-answers or doesn't relate it to the question, but actually they do contain insights. And that's one of the beauty or mystery of these Zen stories. So we'll spend two classes on that. And we only have 8 classes this time. Later on, in the future, we'll have more, definitely more classes on this topic, okay? So there will be other topics that I'm preparing, like selected teachings, the journey of finding your teacher, and so on. So how did those ancient masters, how did they do it? All right? So there are many interesting topics that we can talk about. Right? We'll talk about the first 5 in this class, in this course. All right, so without further ado, let us start with Zen in daily life. Now, we'll begin today's first story. There are several stories related to this Chan master, Chinese Zen master, Chan master Nanyang Huizhong. We don't know when he was born, but he lived till 775 AD. That's 1,300 years ago, right? 13 or 1,400 years ago. All right, here's a brief account of his life. The master, when he was young, he rarely spoke. He was very quiet. And then he just basically stayed in his house. He barely even crossed the bridge in front of his house. However, he was interested in Buddhism at a very young age. And then when he was 16, he saw a Chan monk. Right? Chan is the Chinese word for Zen. Zen is the Japanese pronunciation of Chan. Okay, so he saw a Chan monk and immediately went across the bridge for the first time to exchange greetings, which was a surprising behavior to his neighbors. Now he became a monk, and at first he studied the Vinaya, which is the Buddhist ethical conduct, as well as the Buddhist scriptures, right? And however, when he heard of the great master was teaching Chan Buddhism, Zen meditation, the great master was the 6th patriarch of Chan, Master Huineng. Now, Master Huineng is one of the most important Chinese Chan masters. And we will not yet study his story. But we'll start with some of his disciples, okay? People before him and after him, okay? Because he's such a huge figure that we can spend whole class on Master Huineng, okay? So the sixth patriarch of Zen, he immediately went to practice with him, and then he was awakened under this master, Master Huineng. And in fact, he became one of the, Master Huineng had dozens, more than dozens of awakened disciples. They became masters on their own. But then there were five most well-known, and we'll learn about some of them in this class. So one of them is our master, Nanyang Huizhong. Now, over the decades, Master Huizhong consulted 3 different Chinese emperors. Now, that is, very impressive. Okay, and he was honored as the national teacher. What that means is that the emperor became the Chan master's disciple. Okay, and consulted the master about Buddhism. Many Chinese emperors were interested in Buddhism and had a esteemed master in their court. So 3 Chinese emperors in a row asked Master Huizhong to be the national teacher. Okay. By then, the master stayed at this mountain, Nanyang, for about 40 years until his passing. So his name is Nanyang Huizhong. Let me say a little bit about his name. Nanyang is the mountain where he stayed in. Of course, there's a monastery there. And so in the Chinese tradition, we sometimes call a master by the place that he stayed at. So we can refer to this master as Master Nanyang or Master Huizhong. Okay. All right. So this is a brief biography, but let us look at the first story. One day, Master Huizhong called his attendant. It was just a simple call. For example, Sami, so he called his attendant. And the attendant responded. He just said, "Yes, master," something like that. But then the master called him again. And the attendant responded. But the master called him for the 3rd time. So the attendant responded 3 times. Now the master then said, "Don't think that I was letting you down. Actually, you're the one who has let me down." End of story. So you will find that many of these Zen stories or koans, they are very short. Before you see something going on, it's already over. And sometimes, often they are puzzling. What's going on here? What is the big deal here? So a Zen story or Gong'an is known in the Western Buddhist world as koan. Koan is again the Japanese pronunciation of the Chinese term Gong'an. Gong'an, koan, K-O-A-N. Now, Gong'an literally means a public record. But then in the Buddhist community, a Gong'an specifically refers to a event, a story, a dialogue between 2 masters, not necessarily Chinese, between 2 masters or master and disciple or master and practitioner. Okay, so something happened, a short story. But then the story offers insights to our Zen practice, to our spiritual practice. It's called a Gong'an or Koan. Yeah, so when I say this class is stories of great Zen masters, we are studying koans. Okay, we are reading about these koans. And also, Zen and Chan really refers to the same thing. So when Buddhism came to China from India about 2,000 years ago, it flourished and gradually developed into different Buddhist schools that focus on different part of the Buddhist teaching, all aiming for ultimate enlightenment. Now, there developed a certain way of teaching, a style of teaching, a style of lecturing, and training the disciples that's quite unique. They came to be known as Zen Buddhism. Actually, Chanzong, the Chan school. And then it spread to Japan and Korea and Vietnam and other places. And in Japan, Chan Buddhism, the Chan school, is called Zen because the Japanese does not have the Chan sound in their language, so they call it Zen. And it was the Japanese Zen teachers that first came to the West, bringing the teaching. So that's why in the West we call it Zen. So I will use Zen and Chan pretty much interchangeably, okay? All right, so in this story, don't let me down. The master called his attendant 3 times. Usually you call your attendant, you call somebody, you call a student. You have something to say to them. You give him instruction, give him order, ask him to do something for you, like bring me a cup of water, yeah, bring me some tea, or something like that. But then Master Huizong, he didn't do any of that. He just called his name, he responded, and he called his name again 3 times. And then he said, "You let me down." What do you think? What do you think is happening here? In order to understand this a little bit better, let me talk a little bit about knowing and consciousness. Now, if you don't really actually have to read the text on the screen, okay, if you find it kind of small, I will provide the document, this online document, in the video that will be available after the class is over, so everybody can see it. Now, I want to talk about the terms knowing and consciousness. Now, the Zen practice is all about the mind, understanding our mind. In fact, if we understand the true nature of our mind, then that is crucial. That is equivalent to enlightenment, to awakening, okay? So, one way to begin to understand our mind is to realize the difference, to see the difference between the knowing and the consciousness. So what is the consciousness? The consciousness in this context means that our regular everyday mind that perceives information, digest it, make a judgment, compare, analyze, have preferences, have likes and dislikes. And then often, because we like certain things and we dislike certain things, we have feelings. Yeah, we get emotional sometimes. So feelings, emotions, judgment, analysis, comparison, all of that is in the realm of the consciousness part of the mind. But before you can do this processing of judging, comparison, having a preference, generating emotions and feelings, something else must happen first. And that is knowing. So every single one of the events that we experience begin with knowing. Or sometimes we use the word awareness. You must be aware of something. You must first have this awareness, have this knowing. You must be capable of knowing something first. Now, this knowing can take place through your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body. Right? It triggers something. Let's say you're sleeping and then the alarm clock goes off. And then that sound wake you up. Yeah? So you knew something. You knew that, time to get up. But when you think it is time to get up, that is already in the consciousness. Before you lie in bed trying to decide to get up now or get up 5 minutes later, you must first know that there is an alarm sound. You must first perceive that. So with everything in our life, every experience, there's first that knowing, that direct perceiving of certain kind of information, certain kind of stimulation, right? Light, darkness, colors, shapes, sound, smell, taste, touch, yeah? Comfortable touch, uncomfortable touch, hurting. Now, so there's the knowing and then followed by consciousness immediately. Our consciousness jumps in very quickly. Okay? So let's say you're drinking water. When the water goes into your mouth, there's first that knowing, that direct perceiving of water on your tongue. And then your consciousness jumps in and say, this is warm water, this is hot water, this water is too hot, this water is too cold. I don't want water, I want some soft drink, let's say. So that is your consciousness making a preference, desiring something. Or this soup, I don't like this soup. This soup tastes bad. I don't want it anymore. You have a dislike of this taste. But first you must taste something. And then you judge whether you like it, you want it, or you don't like it, you don't want it. Right? So that's knowing and consciousness. Now let's go back to our story. When the master said, called the attendant 3 times. What happens when somebody calls you? You first have this knowing, right? You hear somebody making a sound. And then you recognize that that sound is your name. So you realize, somebody's calling me. Right? And then something happens. Usually he says something. The person calling you say, hey, can you pass the salt and pepper? You recognize, okay, you pass the salt and pepper. Right? Can you can you lend me $20? You hear, he wants me to lend him $20. No, I don't want to lend him $20. So you make a judgment. That's the consciousness, right? So usually somebody calls you, something else happens. So then we can imagine that the attendant, when he heard the Shifu was calling, he was waiting for further instruction. Yes, master. He was probably thinking, what do you want me to do? Do you want some tea? Do you want me to bring you a book? But then the master didn't do anything. He just called his name again. Now, what do you think? Why did the master say, don't think that I was letting you down? Actually, you're the one who has let me down. Still confusing, isn't it? Well, let me give you another hint. The knowing and the consciousness. For most people, all our lives, we are trapped in our consciousness. It is our consciousness, our judging mind, an analytical mind, our like and dislike mind, that determines, for the most part, the quality of our life. We perceive the world through our judgments, through our discriminations. But the key to bliss, the key to freeing yourself, is to transcend the duality of like and dislike. To see that, to not be trapped in our own view of what is good and what is bad, what is beautiful and what is ugly. To transcend that. But within our mind, there's something that already was non-dual, transcending that, and that is the knowing part. The knowing part of the mind is the part of your mind before it judges, before it decides, I like you, I don't like you. That's the knowing part of the mind. So the more we are in tune with the knowing part of the mind, the more we can rise above our bias and other people's bias. So what do you think then? What do you think the master was trying? He was instructing. He was trying to teach his attendant how to awaken to this true nature of his mind. But in order to understand the true nature of your mind, you must first be in touch with the knowing part of your mind as well. We are already familiar with the consciousness part of our mind. We judge, we think, we store knowledge, we recall knowledge, we have preferences, we like and dislike. We do all of that already. But how well do you know the power, the potential, and the peace in the knowing part of your mind? So when the master called the attendant 3 times in a row without giving any further instruction, what do you think? He was trying to let the attendant recognize what? He didn't give him any more instructions because he doesn't want the attendant to again fall into the conscious judgment, the judgmental part of the mind. How often, when we see a person, we immediately begin our judging, don't we? Let's say you meet somebody for the first time. What kind of things do we think about? Yeah? And we have an idea, oh, everybody is equal, we should treat people equally. But it's so hard to do. Why is it so hard to do? Because we judge. But we cannot judge before we first perceive that person without any bias. We always have bias. Is it possible to see a person without any bias? Yes, it is. But that means we need to be in touch with that first part of our mind, the knowing part, and refrain from judging so quickly. Now here's an exercise for you. How soon do you think we begin to judge after we perceive something? After we see something, we hear something, we see a flower, we see a car, we see a person, we hear some music, we hear some sound, we hear some words. How soon do you think we begin to judge? So, Shifu has previously gave an entire lecture on knowing and consciousness. It's called Knowing, Consciousness, Awareness, and Mindfulness. I will give you the link in this document later. So if you're interested, you can go ahead and listen to it. All right, so we will explore more about this very subtle and very sublime part of our mind called the knowing. The part of the mind that is always present in every single experience, but it is not judgmental. That's why we call it the pure mind. The pure mind. Pure means to transcend the duality of pure and impure. Okay? All right. So, before we go on to the next story, let us go to a lower level about this understanding. Letting people down. So the master says, don't think that I was letting you down. That means, hey, I tried to teach you 3 times. I tried to show you how to awaken yourself 3 times. But then you just don't get it. So that's why he said, actually, you're the one who's letting me down, who has let me down. Yeah? So the teaching went right over the attendant's head. Now that happens. Yeah? Has it ever happened to you that somebody was trying to show you something, teach you something, but then you just didn't get it at the time? Sometimes we don't even know. We didn't even know that this is happening. Somebody was trying to enlighten us in some way. Somebody was trying to teach us something valuable, but we were just too dense, too dense to realize it. And sometimes it's years later, we look back on that experience. Oh, wait a minute. So that's what he was trying to do. That's what he was trying to show us. Do you have an experience like that? Yeah. So how can we be more attuned so that we don't miss such opportunities? Yeah, something to think about, right? Another thing we can talk about is letting people down. Have you ever felt that you let somebody down? Maybe that somebody is one of your mom or dad. Maybe that somebody is a teacher. Maybe that somebody is your boss. You feel that you failed them. Yeah? Imagine what the attendant will feel when he heard this from his master. Yeah? So I certainly felt that way sometimes when I was practicing with my master, Master Weijie, Grandmaster Weijie. There were a few times where he directly pointed at me and said, "You messed up. You really messed up." So how do you deal with that? How do you deal with it in a, let's say, mature way when you feel that you have let somebody down? That's something you can think about, yeah? All right, let's look at the second story today. Thus have I heard. This again is with our master Nanyang Huizhong, Master Huizhong. So a monk came to pay respects to the master. So Nanyang Huizhong was a very famous master. He was the teacher of emperors, right? So when you have a great master like that, people from afar, they will travel a long while to visit and try to learn from the master. So one day, this monk came to the master. The master asked, "What is it that you do?" The monk said, "I am lecturing on the Diamond Sutra." So he's not just an ordinary monk. He's a Dharma master. He teaches the Diamond Sutra. Yeah, I'm lecturing on the Diamond Sutra. Now, not everybody can lecture on the Diamond Sutra. It's a very profound teaching. Yeah, I would like to teach the Diamond Sutra in English sometime in the future. Okay, so he said, "I'm lecturing on the Diamond Sutra." And the master said, "What are the first two words of the Diamond Sutra?" What are the first two words of the Diamond Sutra? Now, if you have read some Buddhist scriptures, you will know that this is a very strange question. Why? Because most of the Buddhist scriptures start with the same phrase, "Thus have I heard." It usually starts like this, "Thus have I heard. At one time, the Buddha was staying at this place or this monastery, and then surrounding the Buddha was a group of disciples, and some of them are then represented by this, like Shariputra or Subhuti or Ananda, and so on and so on." So you will go through the place, the teacher, the followers, the students, the audience, and then you will go on to begin the teaching. So "thus have I heard" is a opening for most of the sutras, and that is because when the Buddha has entered parinirvana, that means he's left this world, the Buddha's greatest disciples gather together in a mountain retreat to collect together all the teachings of the Buddha. Now, during those times, all the teachings were memorized by the disciples. They were not written down. So it was important that they collaborate with each other and to make sure that they remember the correct teaching. And they will standardize the teaching and then pass it on for generations. So this is the first assembly to collect together all of the Buddha's teachings, and eventually they became the Buddhist scriptures. And then crucial among this assembly was Ananda, who was Buddha's attendant for probably 30 years or more. And he has this special ability that he never forgets. He remembers everything. So that's perfect because he remembered all the Buddha's teaching. He was with the Buddha. He was by Buddha's side for so many years. So he remembered most of the scriptures. And so Ananda will send the seed and to repeat the Buddha's teaching, and that the other great disciples will verify, yes, this is how I remember. Yes, this is the correct teaching. Okay? So Ananda will begin by saying, "Thus have I heard," meaning that I have not altered anything. This is exactly as I have heard the Buddha teach. These are the exact words. So, "Thus have I heard." Right? So now this monk, this Dharma master, came and say, "I'm lecturing on the Diamond Sutra." Of course, he must be pretty familiar with the Dhamma Sutra. Oh, he must be very familiar with many sutras, many scriptures, right? A sutra is a Buddhist scripture. And he surely knows that most of the sutra begin with, thus have I heard. So he came to see this great Chan master, and Chan master, having heard that he's a Dharma teacher, and his question was, what are the first two words? Isn't that strange? Because anybody who's anybody in Buddhism knows the first words were, thus have I heard. So what kind of question was that? Now, thus have I heard in Chinese would be 如是我闻. So thus is translated as 如是, as is, suchness. So it is, as is, 如是. So 如是 are the first two words, which means thus, or it is as it is, the way it is as it is. So the Dharma master, the monk, replied, 如是, thus. And we can imagine he was probably a little bit indignant, a little bit unhappy. Because what do you mean you ask me a simple question like that? Don't you think that I know anything? Yeah? When somebody knows that you are an expert, or you think you're an expert in something, and another person asks you a very, very simple question. Yeah? Are you looking down on me? Maybe he was thinking about that. But then here's the twist. The Dharma master said, thus, right, 如是. The master then asked, what is 如是? What is thus? What is as is? What is it? What is as is? Now the monk was silent. He did not have an answer. Okay? End of story. Now to give you some context, 如 means the way it is, or as it is, 如是. Another term, another title of the Buddha is Tathagata. Tathagata. Tathagata means the thus come one, which means Buddha is someone who comes as it is and goes as it is and acts as it is. That's actually one of the title of the Buddha. The thus come one, 如来, 如来, 如是来, 如是去. So the Buddha comes as it is and goes as it is and acts as it is all the time. What that means is that the Buddha sees the ultimate reality, and he never goes against it. He never preaches against it. What he says is just as it is. The reality as it is. The Buddha teaching is the reality as it is. No more and no less. So, thus, the thus come, thus is actually a crucial concept in Buddhism. It is crucial in awakening. And it's crucial in our lives too. Don't you think? When we do things, when we try to complete the task, when we meet somebody, we try to understand, try to have a relationship with somebody, a good relationship, isn't it important to know the truth, the reality, and not be fooled or deluded or misled? So, 如是, or thus, the way it is. Can we live our life as the way it should be? For example, For hundreds of years, human beings have thought that they can conquer nature with the science and knowledge and technology that we have invented or discovered and invented. When we see something in the environment that we don't like, we suppress it, we destroy it, we change it. But then, in the last 20, 30, 40 years, we come to realize, wait a minute, maybe this is not the best thing to do. Yeah? Maybe we're destroying our environment and then hurting ourselves in the long run. Maybe we should respect the wisdom contained in the way of nature. Maybe we should be a little bit more 如是, understand how things work, understand the consequences of our actions. Often we do foolish things because we don't fully understand the consequences of our actions, right? So in this way, we are not 如是, we are not as is. We are doing something hoping that we don't have to pay the price, hoping that we can avoid the consequence. But the cause and the effect is just a way of nature. So it's important to know things as they are, how things unfold, how our actions lead to what kind of consequences, what kind of impacts we need to understand better. This is 如是. Yeah? So even before the Diamond Sutra begins, it already gave you a very important concept, and that is thus. So the Dharma master, he was smart enough to realize that Master Huizong's question is more profound than it first seemed. What are the first two words of the Diamond Sutra? 如是. Yeah, he probably have lectured on the Diamond Sutra 10 times, 20 times. But then he always just thought, oh, thus have I heard. That's because Ananda was recalling what he heard from the Buddha, and that was it. He passed it. He just missed the importance of 如是. Okay? All right. Before we delve into this story, this koan a little more, let us just have some fun. Sometimes humor is also a part of many of these Zen stories. Now, the previous two was a little bit profound. Yeah, it can trigger your contemplation, but this one is just kind of fun. Yeah, dragon offspring. So again, it's about Master Huizong. There was another Chan master. He was also quite well known. He's an awakened master. He's Master Danxia. Master Danxia. He came to visit Master Huizong one day. Now, at that time, Master Huizong was taking a nap. So his attendant, I don't know if it's the same attendant as the previous one, but anyway, the attendant received Master Danxia. So Danxia said, is the national teacher here? Now that's a respectful way of addressing Master Huizong because he's honored by the emperor as the national teacher, 国师, yeah, 国师在吗? He's the national teacher here. Now, the attendant replied, he's here, all right, but nobody can see him. The attendant was kind of proud. Yeah, he's here, but you can't see him. Nobody can see him. Densha responded, wow, isn't that profound? The attendant said, even the Buddha couldn't see him, much less you, Venerable. Okay? So Densha then, Master Densha, he said, a dragon gives birth to a dragon, a phoenix gives birth to a phoenix. When the Master Huizong, he was taking a nap, right? When he woke up, the attendant told him what went on. That Master Densha visited, and this is what I told him. Now, the attendant was probably pretty proud. He thought, hey, I got a better hand. Yeah, I faced Master Dansha, who's a well-known master. This is kind of like a Dharma combat, yeah, a Zen combat. He probably thought he won. But the master gave the attendant a beating of 20 strokes. And kicked him out, kicked the attendant out. Probably just temporarily, yeah, ordered him out. When Master Densha heard this, he remarked, no, that is the national teacher, Nanyang. So we need to probably provide a little bit context. So when Master Densha came to visit Huizong, his attendant said, he could have just said, oh, Master is taking a nap. Would you like to wait a few minutes? I will let you know when the Master awakes. That would be a respectful way of addressing the visitor, right? But then he was pretty arrogant. He said, he's here, right? But nobody can see him. Nobody can see him. And being the attendant of a Chan master, he probably was trying to say some Zen talk, doing some Zen talk. Nobody can see him. That's why Densha recognized this. He said, wow, you sound profound. Are you saying something deep here? And the attendant was even more proud. He said, yeah, even the Buddha couldn't see him, much less you. Now we know that the Buddha is supposed to be omniscient. He is able to see into the minds of everyone too. So why did he say that even the Buddha couldn't see him? That is to say the advanced level of my master. My master, he is so advanced, even the Buddha couldn't see him, much less you. So this is very disrespectful. At the same time, elevating his own master by elevating himself as well. Now, for such a rude words, Densha, the master, he said, what seemed like a compliment. A dragon gives birth to a dragon, a phoenix gives birth to a phoenix. Now, dragon and phoenix are auspicious and venerated mythical beasts in Chinese tradition. A dragon, or more correctly, long, often translated as a dragon, is a great loved mythical animal. So the dragon is supposed to bring rain to the people, and so people love the dragon. So to say you have a dragon son, you have a child that is a dragon, that means he's a very accomplished, he's a very talented child, okay? So phoenix is similar. When you call a girl the phoenix daughter, means that it's a praise, it's a high praise. So it looks like he's praising the attendant. Your Shifu, your master, is a dragon and give birth to a dragon. You are a dragon too. Yeah, a dragon gives birth to a dragon. So the attendant did not detect the sarcasm. It's actually sarcasm. So he was proud enough to repeat the exchange to his master. But the master immediately recognized what's going on and kicked him out. And when the news went back to Master Densha had regained his respect for the master, because Densha did not meet the master Huizhong, right? But then he saw how arrogant his attendant was. He might have lost his respect. But then when he heard, the master kicked him out and gave him a beating, he said, now that is the national teacher. Now that is a true praise. Okay? So, but another note on beating a disciple, somebody might be horrified. What? You beat up your disciple? So a Chan master, we may use a wooden stick, a long stick in a meditation hall usually. When somebody is dozing off in meditation, the master or a monitoring monk will use the stick to hit the meditator. But then it doesn't really hurt that much. It's really a tap, right? It's really to alarm the disciple. So when we say the master beat him with a stick, it is not to make him hurt. It is to alarm him. Hey, you have made a mistake. You have done something wrong. You need to know what's going on. Figure out what's going on. So the 20 strokes is not like a punishment. Okay, it is a form of instruction. So the beating is more of a symbolic gesture. Okay. In fact, corporal punishment, physical punishment by force, is forbidden in the monastic regulations. Okay. All right, so that was just kind of a fun story. Let us go back to some. So these are the 3 stories we will talk about today. Let's go back to some of the terms, just to make sure, since this is the first class, to make sure people understand. Chan and Zen, the difference I already explained earlier. And in the text, we will sometimes use capitalized Buddha and the lowercase Buddha, because Buddha is actually a title for somebody who is fully, perfectly enlightened to the truth. Now, I misspelled here. Okay. So, capitalized Buddha refers to the historical Buddha, Gautama Buddha or Shakyamuni Buddha. Now, when we use the lowercase Buddha, we're referring to what it means. You can become a Buddha, he can become a Buddha. In this case, we don't capitalize. Dharma and Dharmas. Now, the Dharma means the Buddha's teaching, usually in the form of Buddhist scripture called a sutra, or sutta. Or it could be a lecture. Like right now, I'm giving a lecture on the Zen wisdom, so that would be Dharma teaching, Dharma. The lowercase Dharmas means anything, any event, any item, anything physical or non-physical, any idea, everything is a Dharma. So Dharmas, lowercase, means anything, any phenomena, anything. Okay? And the first 6 patriarchs of Chan. So the Chan school in China began with Bodhidharma, who came from India. He came in the most around the 5th or 6th century, around the 4th, 5th or 6th century. And he became the first Chan patriarch of China, even though he's Indian. And then the second patriarch was his enlightened disciple, and the third, and the fourth, and the fifth, and the sixth. So we have 6 Chan patriarchs of Chan, and we'll learn some of their stories in the rest of the class. But then after the 6th patriarch Huineng, we don't use the term on any other Chan masters, because Huineng has so many enlightened disciples, it doesn't really make sense to point anyone as the 7th patriarch and the 8th patriarch. Okay, so the lineage, the enlightened lineage pass on, spread wide into different parts of China. So we only have the first 6 patriarch of China. And Huizong will be the 7th generation, who will be a disciple of Huineng. Now, in the text, we sometimes spell it this way. Huizong is actually, each sound, each syllable is one word in Chinese. So Huizong, there are 2 words. You can write it as 2 words, Huizong. You can write it as one single word. But then here I have capitalized the beginning of the second syllable. This is so that it's easier to tell where the second syllable, what the second syllable is. So Huizong, okay? It's like Nanyang. There are 2 words, Nan and Yang. Huizong. All right. Also, Shifu encouraged you to start a cultivation journal, a journal where you record the insights, the knowledge, things you find valuable into your journal. Yeah, you can also write down questions you have about life, questions about anything that you haven't figured out yet, you wish to figure out. Write it in your journal. I call this a cultivation journal. So whatever you learn today that you think is important, write it down. Whatever questions you have about the stories, something you don't understand, write it down. Okay, we'll refer to the cultivation journal many times in this class. All right, so now, having heard these 3 stories, all related to Master Huizong, I have a question for you. What do you learn from, that is the personality? What is the personality of Master Huizong? What kind of teaching style does he have? Now, the Zen Master, the Chan Masters are known for peculiar ways of teaching the disciples to help facilitate their learning, to help facilitate their awakening to the reality of life. And they are really interesting. Different masters have different styles. We will encounter many different styles of teaching. Okay? Usually when we teach, there's the straightforward explanation. For example, I explain to you what does the Buddha mean, what is Dharma. That's a straightforward explanation. Sometimes I teach by asking questions, right? We can teach by asking questions to prompt you to think and figure out yourself. Yeah, and the Chan masters a lot of times use indirect guidance. And there's many different ways of indirect guidance, and we've seen several examples today. When the master called the attendant 3 times, that was not a straightforward teaching, right? But still, he was teaching something. And then when the master asked the Dharma master, what are the first two words? That was teaching by question, yeah? So to bring attention to something you think you know, but you actually only on a superficial level, yeah, that's really useful. Okay, we're not gonna get to this story today. So now we come to this part for further studies, discussion. Share an example of a teaching from your parents or teachers that made an important impact in your life. And then let's look at the other discussion questions. Has any of your parents or teachers told you you let them down? How did you feel then? What would be a matured response to such remarks? So mention that before. And 3, this story points out that we may have ignored times when someone was trying to teach us something. So the attendant totally missed the way that his master was teaching him, missed opportunities. Do you remember situations where you only realize somebody was trying to teach you something much later? Yeah? How can we become more receptive in the future? Yeah? That's something we can discuss. Okay? And then I have more discussion questions, but let us not look at them. And then today. Now, the second part is contemplation. These are some of the questions Shifu made for you to think about on your own. Yeah? What qualities of teaching style are revealed? Already talked about that. A Zen teacher often corners a student or a seeker into an uncomfortable situation. Now, how does that serve as a catalyst for spiritual growth? So in these stories, in all 3 stories, there's something uncomfortable going on here, right? That was intentional. One of the masters or one of the participants was trying to force the other person into an uncomfortable situation. Why do they do that intentionally? Of course, it's to help them learn, help them gain insight. Yeah? How does that happen? Something to think about. Now, by the similar token, if somebody make you feel really uncomfortable, I'm sure that has happened, right? If somebody make you feel really uncomfortable, do you think there's something you can learn from that? Wouldn't that be a way to look at that? Usually we don't like it, right? But in a Zen story, this is actually a prompt, or let's say a chance for awakening, a chance for insight, right? Can it be so? All right. We'll look at I'll leave these contemplation questions for you. And here's an example of exercise. Pick a daily action, like brushing your teeth or making the bed, and practice being mindful throughout the whole action. Yeah, we brush our teeth every day. Yeah, we make the bed, or we something you do every day. Practice being mindful throughout the whole action. So the action may be only 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. Yeah, let's say eating, for example, eating a meal in silence, which is what we do in a monastery. And the idea is to be mindful of every bite. Yeah, so do that practice. You pick something, a small action that you do every day, and try to be mindful throughout the whole action. The key is throughout the whole action, the whole 2 minutes of brushing your teeth, or 3 minutes of making the bed. Yeah, every moment, continuously being mindful. What does that mean, being mindful? It means your mind is not agitated. Your mind is not biased. Your mind is not judging. Okay? So practice every day for 7 days and write down any insight you gain from something very simple like that in your cultivation journal. Okay? Now we'll look at these questions, the other contemplation or exercises next time. But what I want to do is to try a small group discussion today. Now we haven't formed our groups. I want you to form your own groups. Okay, so please make an effort. Some of you start connecting with your friends and form your group. And let's see. Is it possible for the host to show all the people that's online? Can we show the whole screen of people? Let me stop sharing for now. Yeah, okay. So I'm sure some of you know some of you here. Deborah, you're from Oklahoma. Let's connect with your Oklahoma friends. Somebody from Denver, connect with your Denver friends, and so on. Okay, so form your own group of friends or invite them to join the class and let us know through the Zen class at pdzen.org or send it to the TA, okay? So that we can assign this group form. Now, if you're not part of any group, by next week, we'll just randomly assign you. All right, so Shifu talked about 3 stories, and each story have different layers of meaning. You can learn something from the story at different layers, I think. So, any questions about anything today?
Shifu, hi.
Yes,
Is someone going to send out all the questions and copies through the email again so we have them? Our
yes.
discussion
I
questions?
will. I will fix a couple typos in my notes, and I will send the link. It will be shared to you via email. I will also put it in the description box of the YouTube video that is being streamed right now. We will take maybe a day to trim it, and then we'll put a description, put a link so everybody can click on the link too. Okay, so wait for your email. I will give you the link to the document that I share with you. All right. Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
Hi, Shifu. Can I ask a question about one of the stories, one of the koans?
Yeah, sure.
It was the first one. I was wondering what would have been the right answer from the attendant when he was asked 3 times or called 3 times.
Okay. One of the thing about the Zen koans is that we don't give you answers. You have to figure out the answer yourself. Okay? That's the fun of studying the Zen koans. I actually once saw a book in a bookstore. Says 1001 Zen koans and their answers. that's really funny, because if you put the answers to a koan, then that is a phony book. That is not how you study. It's not the exam where you have a standard answer. Okay. But I did give you a hint, right? About the knowing and the consciousness. All right, Teresa, do you have a question?
I want to ask for another hint also for the first story. I kind of see the first part, why Master respond, it is not I that has let you down, but I'm not sure why he says it is you that have let me down, the second part.
Yeah, the second part means that the attendant just totally missed the teaching. There are other Zen stories where a student one day would tell the master, "Master, I've been here for 5 years and you haven't taught me anything. I'm gonna leave now." And the master says, "What do you mean I haven't taught you anything? Every day I teach you something." Yeah, when you ask, when you hand me a cookie, I take it. Yeah, when you are hungry, I feed you. Something like that. So anyway, so very ordinary things take place, but then if you look at it with a Zen eye, then something is going on. There's some teaching going on. Okay.
Well, I'm grateful that you're more direct than the Cohen.
All right. There was actually a question earlier about "Thus have I heard," and there was a misunderstanding that the master's question was, "What are the first two words?" That's in Chinese, right? It's translated from Chinese. The first two words, 如是, correspond to the one single word in English, thus. Thus, all right? So what is the, in English would be, what is the first word of the Dharma Sutra? And that would be thus. So the key here is thus. Is thus, or suchness, or as is. Okay? And try to explain as is. Try to explain that. That's when the Dharma master was not able to explain. So this also brings up a question. The Dharma master was teaching, was lecturing on the Dharma Sutra, right? But then does he actually know? Does it actually have true understanding? Yeah, a lot of times we talk about things. We may even teach certain things, right? We may even teach a subject, but is there a real deep understanding of the material or of the subject? Yeah, it is actually possible to teach something by the text. Yeah, it doesn't mean you have true understanding or something. So that is something we want worthy of our contemplation. Okay. All right. Any other questions?
I have a second question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Why, when Shifu asked one of the contemplation question, was it framed as trapped and uncomfortable? Is it really uncomfortable, or to be asked a Zen master question by master?
Well, okay. So in in the second story, thus have I heard, when the master asked the Dharma teacher, what are the first two words? Okay, that is a strange question. And so the Dharma teacher should feel a little bit uncomfortable. Well, why are you asking me this silly question? Everybody knows it's thus, right? But of course, it's not a silly question. So it was intentional to for the master to ask this and force him to go back and look at something that he thought was really simple. He thought thus was only about thus have I heard, or Ananda, is repeating the Buddha's words. He thought it was that simple, but then it's not that simple. Yeah, and then, but then the Dharma teacher didn't get it at the time. He may be a little bit uncomfortable, but he still answered. The first two words is thus, 如是. So the master saw that he didn't get it, so he pushed further. He said, what is thus? What is 如是? Have you actually thought deeply about thus? Right? Again, now the Dharma teacher at this point, he had no answer. Now that is uncomfortable. When somebody asks you something and you couldn't answer it, that is uncomfortable. So again, that was intentional, right? He pushed him into an uncomfortable situation. But then, so two things could happen. One, somebody push you into an uncomfortable situation, you could feel angry. So who are you to do this? Who do you think you are? You get angry, and that would be his ego speaking, right? But hopefully the Dharma teacher was better than that. He was, yeah, now that you think it, now that you bring out this point, there's something deeper about 如是, right? So hopefully that's what happens. The Zen Master will force us to rethink about something that we think is really simple. So in the exercise that Shifu asks you to do is to pick something very simple, something that you do every day. So that's something, something you're familiar with. But then do it mindfully. Can you actually brush your teeth for 2 minutes and every second be mindful? I would say 90% cannot. You will lose that mindfulness at some point. Your mind will wander away. Yeah. But will you actually practice continuous mindfulness? Just completely focus on the action. Something happens. Something happens. And that you have to experience it yourself. Okay? You have to experience it yourself. Because it's beyond words.
You just given the hint, Shifu.
It's okay to give hints. You're just not giving any answers.
Well, I feel like the answers are there. The entire Diamond Sutra is summed up in that word thus in some ways, and the answer of silence is also an answer, right?
You could say that.
Shifu, can you refresh my memory? What was the first question asked before what's the first two words of Diamond Sutra?
He just asked him what he did, what he does,
I see.
So he had his visitor and say, "What do you do?" He said, "I lecture on the Dharma Sutra." Okay. Now another context is that you will see quite a few Zen stories where there seems to be a combat, of words between the Zen master and the Dharma master. A Dharma master is somebody who teaches the Dharma, who lectures, who study a lot about the scriptures. They may or may not be enlightened. A Chan master again may not be enlightened, but the stories we'll learn about will all be enlightened masters. So the Chan master often point out something that the Dharma master did not see. Okay, so that's interesting. Okay, so that will be the end of the first class. We'll see all of you next week at the same time. All right? So remember the exercise and then think about some of these questions. We'll send out the link soon. Okay? Now before we end the class, we will do a dedication. So the dedication is also called the transference of merit. What happens is that in a Buddhist activity, when we do something is good, it brings good karma, and we have merits. We would like to share the blessing from doing this good deed by studying together, learning together. We would like to share the merits with others. Okay, so it is like I received a gift. I want to share the gift with somebody special. So what we will do is that we'll put our palms together, and then we'll spend about 20 seconds to make your own dedication of merits. So, and I'll give you an example. We dedicate the merits from our studying the Dharma together, studying from the Zen Masters. We dedicate the merits to my family and friends, and I dedicate the merits to all sentient beings, all living beings. So go ahead and make your own dedication. Now Shifu will make a dedication for everyone. May the merits from our studying the Dharma together become a force to bring all of us toward enlightenment. And may the merits help us gain good health and make progress in our spiritual practice. We also dedicate the merits to peace in the world. May all the war and disasters cease as soon as possible. Okay, we'll see you all next week. Don't forget, we have a Sunday morning awakening hour.
Thank you, Shifu.
Hello.
阿弥陀佛，四叶师父。
阿弥陀佛。
阿弥陀佛，师父。
阿弥陀佛，师父。
Thank you, Shifu.
Thank you. 阿弥陀佛。
阿弥陀佛。
陀佛，师父。
Two, can you keep the meeting room open for a little bit longer?
Yes.